Good day everybody, thank you for joining me on the channel. In today's content we will be breaking down the path to 38 cents for Velo. Nothing that I say is financial advice. Let's dive into the content. So I shared this fractal earlier on today on X, which you can see would complete the wave 4 for Velo potentially in September, October, and then leading into this impulsive new 5-wave move, which would take us up to our 38 cent target at the 0786. Now, I do have other macro targets in the near short to midterm that I would like to see met and broken in order to validate this target, and those sit at 0.044 and 10 cents. Now, 10 cents is our Adam and Eve breakout target that we've actually been monitoring since we got the breakout of this previous resistance on these candle highs in March. We actually broke out in March 2024, and this is the neckline that you can see Velo has been holding for a very long time. So these previous highs here from March, we initially came down for the Adam and Eve, we broke out, and ever since breaking out, you can see we've had some sort of running flat ABC correction where we've had an A, a B, and then a C wave back down to this previous resistance as support, and now we're holding and building higher low structure since touching base on 0.008 and this white trend line. So we actually came back for support right here on a crossroads. You can see we retested this previous neckline of the Adam and Eve, and we also came back down to this white trend line, this ascending support trend line within this sort of wedge structure. So at the moment, I think all it is placing this wave 4 low, or finding out where this wave 4 ends in this 1. So this is how we look at the wave count. We've had a 1, a 2, this is a 3. Potentially we're in this wave 4 now, looking for the explosive wave 5, which would take us up to our macro target at 38 cents. Now, if Velo does start taking out 0.02, there is also, as I said, other targets I would like to see broken in order to start pushing towards 10 cents and 38 cents. And the first one is 0.044. So if Velo does eventually come up in Q4 and take out 0.038, don't be surprised if we meet resistance at 0.044, which kind of closely ties up with this ascending trend line and also the 0.5 Fibonacci. Just like we actually came back down here and retested a crossroads, up here is also a crossroads if we do take out this 0.038 high, as we have the 0.5 fib right here at 0.044 and this white ascending trend line. So if Velo does mark this bottom here, which could have already been placed on the April low, this could have been the running flat ABC. Okay, you got the A, the B, and then the C wave, which is 0.008 low from April of 2025. And you can see since then we've been building higher lows and actually putting in this lower high since. So at the moment it's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. But as long as Velo is above 0.008 to 1 cent, I think that things are looking very, very healthy. I mean, it wouldn't even surprise me if we did get a retracement again back down to this Adam and Eve neckline to confirm it as support before pushing higher. It would look fearful. It would look very, very fearful, because that would still mean that the project is looking for another sort of 30% correction before initially taking off in this major move. So at the moment, I think what's important to look for is this ascending trend line, this white trend line. If Velo can hold above that, which currently sits at sort of 0.012, then this wave 4 correction may already be in, and then we're looking for this new 5-wave count up to higher targets. So you can see as well that I have the 10 cent target, which is the Adam and Eve breakout target. Just to show you again, you go from the neckline of the Adam and Eve back down to the head, and when you actually break the level of resistance, which is right here on this trend line here, this level of resistance from March, you can see that the breakout target actually brings us up to the 0.618 Fibonacci, which roughly sits at 10 cents. Okay, so this is why that's my macro target number 2 if we take out 0.044. And what you could say is that Velo, for the last sort of 520 days, has been holding above the Adam and Eve neckline. So this is a very complex wave 4 correction, in my opinion, before initially taking off to these higher targets. So it's all about right now holding this ascending level of support, this white trend line, Failing that, if we do see a dip below, just simply look for the previous high of March 2023. And again, it would be painful to come back and fill in this 0.008 wick. But now that I'm giving you the heads up that it's a potential play, don't be too disheartened if it does come into fruition, because I still believe, that this macro leg up is missing and will come into fruition. So if we do manage to actually meet that Adam and Eve target, by the way, at 10 cents in Q4 somewhere, I also would expect a pullback at that point, because it's a key level of resistance, and it would be healthy if we could get a pullback and actually retest this white trend line of resistance as support to confirm the final fifth wave, which would take us up to those 38-cent targets. Now, if Velo does happen to lose this sort of 0.01 area around 1 cent, and it does start coming back a bit lower and losing this trend line, I wouldn't be too concerned, because what we could actually have is this is a macro wave 1, okay, up to the 0.038 high, and then we're in a wave 2 before a wave 3, a 4, and a 5. Okay, and what this would be is potentially a leading diagonal, which means we've already encountered a potential which means we've potentially already encountered a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if this was the 5 wave move top out, this could be an A, B, C wave 2 before getting that explosive targets. Now, what I mean, just to show you as an example, is this leading diagonal structure here, okay, where you've had a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5 that's caught between resistance and support, and then it actually loses support for the wave 2 before continuing in a wave 3, 4, 5 up to impulsive targets. So going back to Velo again, just to show you guys, if we have or are creating a similar structure to a leading diagonal, we've had a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5. Potentially we come back down now in this ABC to mark a wave 2, lose this ascending trend line. It looks scary, but then we go for the massive breakout, which is where we get this impulsive structure. So that's kind of what I'm looking at the moment from a macro perspective. Wave 4 could already be in on this ascending trend line as support, okay, if we're missing a wave 5, and this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave structure. That would validate this move up to sort of 38 cents. And this is something called a Livermore accumulation cylinder, which is actually building up in this cylinder you can see here. And then it initially leads to a very impulsive breakout. So that's the original count that I'm so far looking at. 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, and then 5. Okay, failing that, we've already had the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we're entering the wave 2 before a spring taking us up to those higher targets. So even if Velo does sort of roll down here, don't be too disheartened, because it would be creating the wave 2 in this leading diagonal. But however, if it does hold a support, then you've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is the wave missing up to 38 cents, which could potentially come somewhere in 2026. So that's kind of my breakdown and my thoughts on this chart at the moment. The 0786 at 38 cents is very close to a fair value gap in FVG, which is roughly around 45 cents, I think. But this nonetheless is a very interesting area, because we haven't actually ran up and back tested it as resistance since we lost it in 2021. So we've had this a sort of very sharp decline, and now it looks like we're trying to work our way back up to where we actually lost this previous support. Okay, so that's initially why I've got the 38 cent target. It's the 0786, and we're also missing that macro fifth leg up, which is the move that could take us to those targets. Following that, I would expect this then to enter into a bear market where Velo comes back sort of 80-90% looking for a higher level of support. But that's generally my thoughts here, guys, just solely based on Fibonacci. 050 at 0.044 is our first target. Once we see 0.038 reclaimed, you then got that Adam and Eve target at 10 cents, which has actually been ongoing since sort of when it broke out of resistance in March 2024. And then finally, to complete the fifth wave up, you're looking at 38 cents for Velo. I hope you've enjoyed the content, guys. From Chart Nerd TA, take care. Peace out.